Good afternoon, everyone. Here with another update as we continue to track rain and snow that ultimately does transition to all snow by the evening and, of course, into the overnight period as well. Right now, though, fortunately, thanks to a 40-plus degree day yesterday, most of the roads are fine, and we expect that. We didn't expect the accumulations to really start until the evening and the overnight period, too, so the afternoon is looking good to go. No worries there for sure. That continues to be the case, as you can see, looking at 2nd Street here from our Harrisburg sky camera. Just the wet roads and what's been a transition to rain and snow, a little bit of both, and it's been very elevation dependent, too, depending, of course, on where you live. Here is a look at the system as a whole right now. We're getting that mixing in because the storm hasn't intensified just yet, but that is going to be happening over the next several hours. So you are going to see, and we might already be seeing that along Delmarva, a transition to all snow across the area that's going to take place, and that's going to be through nightfall, and then of course continuing into the early morning hours. With that said, we continue to have a winter storm warning for our entire area. That's the pink that you see here. We've got winter weather advisories for lower snow amounts to our north, and of course the higher amounts, blizzard conditions. Not very often that they see this along the coastal areas, especially in Jersey and Delmarva. This is going to be a historic storm for them in many ways, but this is where not only do they get the whipping winds and the potential for 1 to 3 inches of snow an hour, but this is also where the heaviest amounts are going to be, and especially those that are going to be in excess of a foot. So as far as it goes for us right now, we still do have a decent amount of rain mixing in, although it is elevation dependent across much of our area. But where you see the green is where there still is going to be rain mixing in. Where you're seeing the blue, of course, is where higher elevation snow is likely falling. But in some of those valley areas, notice some of these pockets here. It's very possible. Some folks, of course, are seeing rain based on that, but do know that this is going to change over to snow. We've had marginal temperatures today. By marginal, I mean barely above freezing. And this is after a day where everyone was in the 40s, and even spots like Franklin County were in the 50s. So the ground is still warm. That's why we think, for the most part here, afternoon, we're looking good. It's not until the evening and the night that roads are going to start to get slushy. I think that's going to be the time. That continues to look like that's staying on track here from what we've been saying all weekend. Temperatures, though, in the 30s, and I don't think these are going to change too much, at least not until we get to nightfall, and then some transition over to rain and some heftier snow rates will be able to take that down. Visibility, though, does remain down, so there are, of course, difficulties with your viewing because of the snow, the rain, whatever it is that you might be seeing from Lewistown and even down through portions of Franklin County, like Chambersburg. And out in Franklin County in particular, I've definitely heard that this has been very elevation dependent from a lot of you who have been just letting me know what you've been seeing. Please continue to do that on social media for sure. It's obviously very helpful, and that's what we want to hear. Over the next several hours, though, you'll notice that rain, the green, continues to shrink as this storm intensifies. And then we will get a steadier period of snow through the evening and into much of the night. This is our futurecast here right around midnight, so you can see that it will be actively snowing for several hours through the evening. It does continue during the night and into very early Monday morning. Most of us, I think, we're done by daybreak, actually. Let me play this a little bit more for you, and you can see how that gradually tapers by about 5 o'clock in the morning, so maybe just shy of daybreak for most folks. There's still just a few lingering snow showers or flurries around, but we'll definitely be done with the bulk of the accumulations by then throughout our area, and what you get is what you get. And they'll be getting a lot, especially just to the west of us. So with that said, through the rest of this afternoon, we're going to continue to have snow and rain, and that's going to ultimately transition to light snow. There continues to be the thought process for minimal impacts. Most of this is going to melt on contact because of how warm it was yesterday. And I say warm loosely speaking, of course, but 40s this time of year, even low 50s, that is warm for sure. The steadier snow, though, does start to pick up around dark and then afterward through the night. We think a general 3 to 8 inches is a good expectation for most of our area. We really still don't think getting more than a foot is very likely, especially with some of the shifts that we have seen this morning even, that made us have to really make some more tweaks, or I guess changes, to our snowfall map, and I'll go over that shortly. Just finishing up here and saying for Monday morning, everything's going to gradually taper and exit. While roads might be slushy early in the morning Monday, I think through the morning and into the afternoon, it'll be much easier to clean up, and I think we'll be in a much better place by then. I don't think this is going to keep travel too difficult for the entire day. Fortunately, anyway, that's the good news at least. And now here it is, the latest snowfall totals throughout the area. Now, the one thing that was very key, we waited until 9:30 last night to make our updates because we wanted to see what some of our high resolution models would say. If they would have the back edge a little more west or a little more east. They were hanging pretty tough, so we kind of went with that. But this morning, we did ultimately see the shift out to the east. So you might recall with our update last evening, we had an 8 to 12 along the very eastern half of Lancaster County. I think we can safely put that into Chester County at this point, but I do still think we could get enough snow to get most spots in this dark blue area 5 to 8 inches. So I do think, aside from the 4 to 8 that we said yesterday, the general idea of 3 to 8 for our area is still going to hold. But with that back edge shifting just a little bit more to the east, and you know, the difficult thing about forecasting these types of big storms is that sometimes just a 20 to 30 mile shift makes all the difference. And it's going to make that difference for Likens, Duncannon, Harrisburg, even down to York, and perhaps just along the cusp of the cutoff for Lebanon, from areas to the east and then areas to the west, of course. So I think that's where you might fall short and end up with the 2 to 5, especially with the way the mixing is looking right now across those areas. This is something we were keeping an eye on, but ultimately, this is the one that is going to end up playing out after all. Now, with the variability of our higher elevation locations, this is a tricky one right here. We could still get higher elevation spots that get 5 to 8 inches. Notice the valleys, though. It's very possible the valleys could be 4 or 5 inches, perhaps fall just short. This is going to be a tricky one in more ways than not. I mean, it has been all along, but of course, we'll keep you up to date and let you know how this is going to work out through the evening and into the night. Just be on the lookout for some slushy and some difficult travel at times if you do have to do that through the rest of the night. Stay tuned for more updates through the afternoon. We'll see you back here in about an hour around 3 o'clock.